Welcome to the Facility Plan 2019 webinar. Today we will go through a brief introduction. We will follow up with going through the example of the facility template and other reports, following up with any other questions. This year during facility planning, going through your pre-meetings and final reviews, I, Amber Leach with Planning, will be your primary contact. If you have any further questions, we can address them and with the appropriate people. And today we have here at SFD is...
So Charlie Kaufman, Planning.
And Troy Decker, Planning.
With that, I would like to just start off by thanking you guys for attending and allowing us to go through this year's facility plan, just to go over information, make sure that everybody is apprised of what the requirements are and what we need to fill in this year. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Troy to kind of give some updates and history on facility planning.
Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us. This is an important part of the planning process. You join us for the webinar, and we are recording this and certainly will provide it as a resource later for you. So, you know, we've been doing formal facility planning for 10 years now, and it's been a really good process. And what it allows is just a common place for districts to be able to speak of their needs, the state able to put into context just the rules of engagement for applying for or receiving monies, prioritizing projects, etc. And it allows us then also just a clear form of communication. And then we have those districts out there, we have personnel within districts that have been there a long time and understand this process very well and do a great job at their participation. We also have people out there who this may be their first year in Wyoming from an out of state, or it may be their first time in this position. And so we really try to provide a foundation for you to understand who we are, who you are, and just the flow of monies through this agency that your facility needs may be met. So with that, we're excited to have you, and I think Amber and Charlie have been doing just a great job, and our data is just really good, and I think our information that you work and collecting in these facility plans and verifying the accuracy of that data is just an important part of keeping the database up to date. And then when decisions are made down the road, they're based on really good objective data and not just subjective criteria that we would consider maybe not so valid. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Amber and continue on.
Okay. I'd like to start just kind of going back into our website. If you would like to go to state construction, once you see it, it breaks down to construction management, which is our state agencies.
We lost audio. I want to check, make sure they still have audio on end, because we lost audio here for that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, one quick second. I wanted to check something on the technical side. Okay,
Okay.
good. It just lost it on my end, so we'll keep going. You're fine.
All right. Everybody's still able to hear us. Alyssa, you're my guinea pig. Can you hear us? Please raise your hand. Thank you for that verification. I appreciate it. So breaking this down again is our website with state construction. With construction management, this breaks off into our state agencies and buildings that we are with facilities of the state agencies. Along with that, you have your school facility side. You click here, it will go to the school facilities website. Primarily, we have a lot of different tabs here that go into reports and information that you can utilize throughout your year. The main thing for facility planning will be utilizing AIM, our database. Click on this tab. You can go down into here, and if you have not already had a username and password, you can submit for that with this request form. You will just give your district as well as your information of your email and other information required. Again, from this site or from this tab, you can go specifically into other guides and other information that can assist you and help you through the year. To get into AIM itself, we have a quick link right here, and you can click on that. Once you fill in your username as well as password, you can log in for the year or the day. With this format, sometimes it lays out differently, but report list is what you want to look for. You go down with report list to facility plan report. Once we are in facility plan report, you can leave it as all statuses or you can change it to open status. Once you click here, you'll find the district that you are and go into 2019. Carbon 2 was assisting me this morning with their pre-meeting, and we've got things all populated within them today. Once you go here, this is what I kind of call your title page. You'll see all the reports that are uploaded for your utilization. I'm going to go through a quick example of checking one out and checking one back in just to help you. If you go on to your left-hand side and click on this icon with the Carbon 2 Facility Plan 2019, it will open it up to this page. On the left-hand side again, down at the very bottom is related documents. Once you click here, you will see those first 4 documents that are already previously uploaded. Sometimes there may be a few more reports due to an article we've updated or uploaded or other information that has been shared. Currently, I'm going to pull the facility plan report template here. Once you click on that, it will open it up and you'll see it's available to take. And you will be able to click check out. You will say yes, and you will see this screen come up and it's saying that it's checked out by myself. If it's ever checked out by me and you need to be able to check it out, you can contact me by phone or email and I can check it back in. That way we can transfer the information between the district as well as SFD. If you click here, and this is where it will drop to the bottom left usually, and once it gets done populating here, you can drag it to your desktop is what I prefer to do, just for easy reference. And I apologize. A lot of screens.
We do have a question from
Okay.
Vern McAdams. Want to make sure that we get to that. He's not typed it up, it just has hand raised.
Okay. Vern, go ahead and...
He took his hand off. Never mind.
Okay. All right. So once it stops timing, you can drag it to your desktop and open it up from there. Once you've typed and done anything that you need to in terms of changing information, adding your comments, verifying reports, etc., and it's time to check it back in, please close the report, save it, and close it. What I've found in the past that if I have the report still remaining open, even though I've saved it, but I hadn't closed it, it will take the older version and not the new version that I have provided. So in the reverse, you will check the document in, you will choose the document, which we have chosen from the desktop here. You check it in, you click open. It provides it. You're going to have to pick major or minor versions. And today I'm going to put practice, just so that it validates what we've done. You hit done. It gives it a few minutes to upload, of course, especially the larger the documents. Then you will hit save. And you will see that we have the document available again. We can check in history or anything of who's checked it out, how it has been checked out, and is it available again. That's just a brief checking a document out, checking one back in. If you ever get into a problem where you wonder what's going on, please let me know, or you're getting stumbled. I can always jump on a go-to meeting or talk you through it. with that, I just want to kind of briefly look at the schedule and show you guys what our schedule looks like this year. As you can see, we have all of our facility plans mainly at 9 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. With that, between those times are our final reviews and our pre-meetings for myself to accommodate and assist you in preparing for your actual facility plan meeting. This year, to help us and to make sure, our actual go-to meeting, our facility plan meeting is a go-to meeting that will allow us to record so that we are not overlapping, and if I'm working with the district to accommodate you, we will be doing Google Hangouts for the pre-meetings and final reviews. That way, if we need to take extra time, I am able to assist you while the actual facility plan meetings can go on. So as every year we have our facility template, we have pre-populated most of the reports we are working on right now, pre-populating them. With 48 districts, we just got a few of the reports finished up in this last week to start cutting and pasting them into the actual facility plans. Most districts, we will have it the week prior to your actual facility plan pre-meeting. So I know a couple of districts yesterday after our meeting asked where their facility plan is, and we are still populating. I apologize. But with that, there are a few reports that are still out there and that we will be waiting for is our WDE information, that is the enrollment numbers from October. They are still validating the information. Once they release that information to us at the end of December, I will be able to populate the enrollments as well as the capacity reports into our facility plans. With that, I will try to release all the rest of the document to you in advance, and we will work between the district and myself to get you that other information. Again, we've pre-populated your pre-meeting time and final review. As we go through those pre-meetings and final reviews, some districts you have had people with experience with AIM as well as the facility template. I will adjust to your knowledge and your ability to fill those reports out, but this meeting time allows me to check in with you, make sure things are on base, answer any questions, and get the customer service you need to provide your facility plan for the year. With that, if there is a district that you have new people that need some extra attention and training in using AIM or understanding of any of the reports, I can take the time to go through that with you during these times that we have already established. Now, when we go through the facility plan, you will be able to initiate and tell us that if you're going to do a in-person meeting or a video conference. With that, you can do a combination of both. If, say, part of your district can attend in person, or if somebody is going to have to attend video conference, we can do both. We have also pre-populated from August, when you were able to update your contact list for me. We have updated the information for the people that should attend. If there's any changes or someone is unable to attend, we can always adjust at that time. Going right into the facility plan itself, we've taken the first portion of track and deeds. We've cut and pasted some Google Earth imaging of your district and where some of the schools are located, just for a visual.
Can we go back up for a second?
Yes.
Keep going. The very first page.
Yes.
Let's talk about attendees for a second. It's really, in our opinion, it's really important that the major stakeholders in the district are participants of this process. So we would recommend superintendents, business managers, facility directors, and even your curriculum director or coordinator and whoever else you have that plays important roles in making decisions. These buildings are about impacting education. And so we would encourage as much participation and holistically. We've had school board members participate in these meetings. Sometimes a district will bring a consultant in. Maybe they've been working on something and bring their architect along. So whoever you feel is relevant there, but we would encourage as many to participate as possible because of the nature of, I think that the scope of these facility plans is broad, and I think facilities aren't just facilities. They have an impact on education, and so those who are, and finances and all those things. So we would just encourage you to have a broad spectrum of participation. We've had as many as 15 people participate in these from different districts. We're not saying you have to involve that many. We're just saying that it's really important. We list these positions and titles for a reason, and that reason is to make sure that everybody understands the importance of their position in the district and their insights, and then their understanding of the process, where money comes from, and a lot of times you'll have questions from community members or school board meetings or whatever. And if you're part of this process, I think it's really a great educational. If you're just a superintendent and you've come in new to the district, this is a really, really good overall educational opportunity for you to understand where monies come from, what you can do with monies, and where you sit on priority lists and stuff like that. So that participation is really important. You can see on our end, we'll also involve not only the 4 standard people, and we won't always be able to, all 4 of us be at every meeting, but we always coordinate with project managers and making sure that the schedule works for them. And so we hope we can get all those guys. And then our director and administrator also participate in select meetings according to whatever the issues are. So anyway, just let you know, and sometimes there may only be 1 or 2 of us, sometimes there may be only 1 or 2 of you, but we try to maximize participation on the front end of this and give an opportunity for everybody to be fully aware of the facility planning process, as well as the results and the issues related to facility management. Thank you, Amber.
Okay. Like Troy said, we've set up the meetings early in the years to try to accommodate everybody that is wanting to be involved. And it also allows us to plan out the pre-meetings and final reviews that really prepare these facility plan meetings to give us the information and have the great discussions that we need to. One thing I do want to mention here, and you'll see it noted at the very beginning of the document, is when you download this, please do not open it up in Google Drive and then bring it back. What's happened in the past is we have a lot of different documents in this and reports that are cut and pasted, and unfortunately Google Docs as well as Word do not play nice together and do not revert the information correctly, and it becomes a little bit tough for us. So if you can maintain it in Word, that would be greatly appreciated, and it will cause a lot of less heartache on both of our parts with information. So going back into tracts and deeds, when we get into this tracts and deeds, once you get into the actual facility plan template here, you will see that we've cut and pasted the documents straight out of AIM reports. If you have any questions or concerns about something that has been posted in this and you have a discrepancy of, for an example of tracts and deeds, if the acreage does not seem right, we can always go back into AIM itself and look at the actual report in its entirety and look at the specific information. So once we get it into that, you can go into the actual track and go into more information. But going back, once you find something that has had a discrepancy, you can contact myself or Charlie Kaufman, and we will address it with you. Sometimes it's a very quick fix that just needs addressed. Sometimes it may require us doing a update form for the AIM to track the information. When you know the information is correct, you can click the box and move on. If there's any comments that you need to make on that specific section, We have areas down below where you can type your notes personally in the section and prior to the actual facility plan meeting. This allows us to know your comments and also prepare for the discussion during that facility plan meeting itself. When you look here, we list the land leases. If there's no land leases to be listed, I will insert an import saying that there's no land leases and no report to be listed. Moving on, if you have any land dispositions or land acquisitions, we just have a guide in here that you'll want to be presenting that to Commission and also following it up with the AIM update form submitted to SFD. Charlie, would you like to go over it?
Sure, absolutely. So the reason why we do this every year is it ties in for a couple of reasons. The biggest reason that we have for doing this is that every year we report to the Wyoming Department of Education the acreage that is that districts have in their possession. That affects the funding for groundskeepers and in part some of the maintenance and operations funding. And so it's important for us to make sure that we have the appropriate acreage. A couple ways we verify this. We verify with you, the district. We also take it through the county assessor and through their documentation and prove the acreage that's there. Some county assessors are very detailed and have everything up very easily and found, and other county assessors it takes a little more work to be able to get the verification through that. But either way, we do verify it through those sources, and so it's very important for us every year to continually do that as there are changes available. And if you do have any changes or questions, just feel free to contact us and we'll help you work through it. So thank you.
I wanted to say here that, you know, the database over time has gotten better and better and better and better. So if you're new to a district and you're looking at this and you're like, how do I verify? Just know that those who have gone before you in your district have been a part of this process. And so this has been a multiple year, many years. When we have the database first, 2008?
Yeah, 2009.
2009. So we're talking since 2009. These numbers have been in here and they've been verified and checked and double checked and triple checked. So don't feel if you're brand new to a district, know that your predecessors and we have gone through these. And then with that independent county assessor's site in each county, they've been verified. So not to say that there may be some opportunities for change or accuracy or whatever, and we welcome that, but know that it's not subjective, it's very objective and has gone through many years of verification. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't look carefully at things, and if you have any questions or comments, you can certainly, through Amber, work with Charlie as well to really, if there's any issues at all, just let us know on the front end during the pre and final meeting. And these guys will work really hard at researching, and if you have any questions, to adequately answer those questions to verify that the data is accurate or needs changed.
Last year, speaking on that, I was able to start working with Charlie and even Troy. If things were brought up during the pre-meeting and final review, I followed up with an email with the people in our office that would be able to address the concerns or the information that we needed to verify and have at least, if not resolved, we were able to know a little bit more prior to the actual facility plan meeting and have a better discussion on those items, if not having them corrected.
Let's talk about that land leases object there that you pasted in. Now, we're not pretending that everybody can read that. And so during our facility plan meeting, and when you open this up digitally, go ahead. When you open this up digitally, you can increase the magnification of this, and you can actually see those numbers. Now, sometimes when you bring an image in like that, it's kind of not as clear as you need to be. But I do know that Amber works with each and every single school district to verify this data, and we have, of course, a form that you fill out. And so this is just illustrative of what that form is. We don't anticipate someone having to read verbatim, but at least to demonstrate that we ask for a verification form, right, every year. It goes through the correct and appropriate approval process, and that we have a record of leases and stuff so that your major maintenance payments are correct. So that again is just illustrative. And then the other thing that I want to remind you of, and we used to keep all this stuff in the database, and during facility plan meetings, we'd actually go through the database and we'd look at property profiles and we say, okay, does anything need to be changed here? We'd actually do that during the meeting. So what we found over the years is if we do a really thorough job, and we as in you and us, on prior to your meetings, then what happens is when we get together, we've already verified all the documentation. We've already verified the data. You've already seen what the data is. You've responded to what you believe you should be saying. We are able to then, during the meeting, capture in written form, respond to your questions or respond to your concerns or respond to your needs, so that everybody has a common and a very clear understanding of where they sit with regard to what information is available, what information is being portrayed, what requests are, what concerns, and then the responses thereof. So those are really important parts of this. And then the other thing is, when you have of course we're having a new governor come in and stuff, and I've told you, and a lot of you guys have heard this already, at times we have a legislator call up and go, can I see the facility plan for such and such school district? We've had the governor's office, rarely, but every once in a while the governor's office will ask for a facility plan. And so know that when you fill this stuff out, it's just not a formality. It really is important what you say, how you say it. Now, one of the things we do, and we do not touch your notes unless it's during the meeting, and then we agree to change a note, and then you see how we change it on the screen. But we would encourage you to, like any other document that becomes a public document, because these become public documents, any other document that becomes public, you want to have correct grammar, spelling, complete ideas. So your notes are really important to work hard on those, because what you're doing is you're representing your school district in a professional manner. And then on top of that, you'll see when we respond and after we have our meeting and during our meeting, we type and make notes and stuff. We send that back out to you and let you review our notes prior to having the superintendent sign this facility plan meeting. So just a kind of a reminder of the purposes of this data. It's all things in one place. And then we really maximize when everybody sits around the table or on the video conference, which I would say probably about 40 out of the 48 school districts do video conferencing, which is great because you don't have to travel so much. Please feel welcome if you want to come in person, because we'd love to have you as well, or a combination thereof. But know that then when we get together, the reason we have the pre-final and then the actual meeting is because then we can really, really talk about the key things that we need to discuss in depth and have the major players involved in that discussion, and not be, we've had in the past, in years and years ago, you got a director sitting here, over here you've got a superintendent, and everybody's time is valuable. So this process that we've developed is very thorough and really makes the meeting itself, when all the players get together, a very productive meeting. And that's why we work so hard on the front end of these meetings, specifically Amber and working through filling this out, because it makes it a lot more productive process.
Real quick, there is one thing I want to touch. For this land disposal and building disposal, really quick. As of July 1st, there was a change in state statute in the terms of disposition for land in both buildings for school districts. Previous to this, to that change in statute, districts were able to dispose of them and had the leeway and freedom to do so without the reporting requirements that we now have. Now with this, we have this in our section to be able to do that, so we can get on the front end of these. So that way we can report to the commission, and the commission can weigh in on these items. And that way, then they can approve, or can they? Yeah, they just mostly approve on that, and then
they can disapprove.
They can disapprove as well. You're right. Excuse me on that. But basically, that way they can approve the sale of the land or the building, and then be able to move on with that. But the change in state statute requires that now goes in front of the commission in order to do that. So that's why in years past we had not had. We now have that required now, so that way people know what that is for.
So the important part, and I agree, Charlie, the important part of this is I think we've become a lot more proactive rather than reactive to these things. So when you have disposition of land or acquisition needs, just come out on the front end and we can talk about it in advance. And then it's really nice if you're disposing property or something, wouldn't it be nice to know exactly what the commission thought about that disposition of property, and it runs through the commission and you know exactly where you stand in the sale. We acknowledge that every single building that you have belongs to the school district, not the state of Wyoming. But at the same time, the commission has the ability, because capital funds, the state is responsible financially take care of buildings and stuff. State statute is very specific on the fact that the commission does have to weigh in on all disposition, and we encourage you to work with us early on that and not after the fact, and then you're wondering, okay, well, we sold the property and we made $200,000, you know, isn't it nice to know what the commission thinks prior to that rather than after that, and which is a better process. And then the acquisition, know that we do have it's called, I think, a land opportunity fund.
Correct.
And so so when you think about land acquisition, you know, in the past and present, if there's a major need in a school district that requires major capital requests for land acquisition, we'll do that. But we also have this other pot of money that's already appropriated for land acquisition, and maybe you have property that's adjacent to an existing property, and maybe it's a neighborhood school, and all your staff and for activities, you know, the Christmas program, all the parents come and they have to park 4 or 5 blocks away. We have had school districts, and that's what it's there for. If there's an adjacent piece of land, for some reason a house goes up for sale or something like that, there's an opportunity to buy that adjacent land, and actually then for you to have the opportunity to purchase land, and then somewhere down the road for capital funding, it has to go through a process of equitable prioritization. But a lot of times school districts will buy a piece of property, use their own internal monies to then demolish or to sell the piece of property, the building, have someone move it off. They level it out and they put some gravel in there and they have a parking lot adjacent to that land. So know that land acquisition funds are available, especially for adjacent properties and for other major capital projects. If you're a large school district and you're seeing down the road, and man, if we grow another X number of students, we're going to need a new school. It's nice for the state of Wyoming to be thinking about and helping you along the way to proactively acquire land for major capital projects down the road as a potential, rather than all of a sudden you have a capacity issue and you're there and all of a sudden we're looking for property and now we're maybe 2 years behind because we don't have a place to put the school. So those are things to think about with regard to land. Thank you.
So the next thing we go into is the property profiles of buildings. And again, this impacts your major maintenance payment as well as your WDE operations and maintenance payments. So it is important to maintain and verify the information in the report below of the building facility plan. If you have any discrepancies or things that just do not seem right, you'll either let me know during the pre-meeting or the final review or via email, and then we can also address it with Charlie and find out what we need to do to change it. Either follow it up with a AIM update form to be submitted for any changes. If it has a status change on the property, pending the type of status change, one is mothballed and the other is disposition of building. Once we get into that, that does need to have a commission acknowledgement or approval in that situation. And once you get into this, we can also make more notes down below. Listed here is also an example of the building leases. This year I'm going to try to wrap it around so that we can have a better, clearer image for us to view and to be able to see the information. The next section that you get into is your actual enhancements. Listed here are the enhancements for your district. If you will go over those enhancements, make sure that they are correct in the information that is provided in terms of total square footage or enhancement information. With that, if you have a new enhancement, and this is the example I kind of use for different districts, is you have a 6-lane track and you want to move it to an 8-lane track and expand, but that is above your adequacy standards, then you'll want to do an enhancement acknowledgement form that you will provide to your project manager, and then it will be presented to commission. Charlie, is there anything you would like to add to this section?
No, just, to reiterate the importance of making sure that we get the proper verification on square footages. It does affect major maintenance payment as we do replacement costs off a square foot basis, and also the major maintenance allocations and WD operations and maintenance funding is based off of those square footages. So it's always important to make sure those are correct.
The next section we get into is the district appropriations update. Here is a list of the capital projects that are in the district at this time that are open and currently being processed. What we're asking here is the project still going on, or if there is anything that is hanging it up. If it is a project that is closed and the funds are done and the project's ready to close out and remaining funds can be reverted to the state, we will be able to have that discussion during this section.
Okay.
There have been examples, go up one more time there, Amber.
Yeah.
There have been examples of that where, maybe there's a warranty issue or who knows what, and there's $4 million sitting in an account as a balance. That's a very large project as a balance, but there are times when maybe it's reasonable to hold a certain amount of money back because of uncertainty of certain things, but not to hold the full amount. So what we hate to do is hold, if we've got unspent monies, I'm just picking it out of the blue here, but of $523,000, almost $524,000, that maybe it's reasonable to hold back $50,000 for a certain reason because there's a specific reason to do it, and not hold the whole $500,000 as a balance. So know that and think about that because our responsibility is to return monies to the states so that they have monies then to appropriate for unused monies, to appropriate for other facility needs for other districts or maybe your district down the road. So know that it's we don't look at this as an all or nothing. Sometimes for certain specific reasons we can hold some monies back, but a limited amount to be reasonable and not tie up a whole $500,000. So just know that as well as we move through these, and think strategically about that. Work with your project manager. You guys know where your projects are. Obviously, if you're in the middle of a project, we're not going to touch any funds and return them. But if that project's done and it's been done for 3 months, 11 months, 2 years, neither are we going to just let money sit there because it may have a potential of something else when the scope's fulfilled. So be aware of that and think it through, and talk with your project managers here at the state to kind of clarify that, and then have a clear understanding of on the front end of what monies can be returned. And down below, a lot of times in the district notes, you can just type, this is what we do and I prefer it, type 1126, and then you could just 1126 dash, and then whatever, project finished, return funds. And then just return, and then let's pretend we did all that, and then return, and you can go 1183, and so on and so forth. So if you could kind of organize it like that, and just give us a little bit of script on each one, I think that would be excellent communication. It would allow us to, instead of going through from scratch each one, we actually see before the meeting where you're at on each project. We know which ones, and then maybe out of this, six or seven projects here, maybe the only one we really need to talk about is 2777. Because it's clear that you can return the other funds, or the project's still in motion and it's only at 65% completion. So if you could do something like that on the front end, and that's with each of these notes, write them in such a way that it doesn't take a whole nother conversation to work it through. You actually communicate very specifically, and it makes it efficient as we work through your facility planning. So that we really, again, focus on the things that need to be focused on, and those things that are no-brainers, they're already listed, we move forward.
So the next section we get into is called security. With that, we listed the 20 elements, security elements by priority that were addressed in the security. The first phase of money that was released, you'll see a table that will show the district and what elements were addressed for that district and the allocation of the original budget. The second column here that you'll see is adjustments that were made. Some districts may have had a different building put up and they just needed to shift the money from one element to another, and this represents those changes. It also shows the money encumbered or promised, as well as how much has been expensed and what is left to still spend.
The importance of this conversation is we have had legislators constantly in committee meetings ask how much money's left and why aren't school districts spending their security monies. So this is just a record of that. You guys, if you're following the legislative committees that we're a part of and reporting to, you know that it's really, really important to spend this money, but spend it in an appropriate manner. Later on, she's going to be talking about the latest legislation and stuff that we're going to be following as the legislature meets, and whatever the latest information is, we'll be providing to you. But one of the things that's moving through is just kind of loosen this money up and allow you guys to use it on any of the 20 elements rather than the 7 or so that have already, or 8 or whatever it is, that have already been allocated money. And then just to clarify too, just to make sure, because Amber's kind of learning this process, but this isn't for new buildings right now or anything right now. It's specifically tied to specific buildings, but amongst that, districts have been able to kind of move money around among those buildings that are existing in order to make adjustments and to be able to spend this money where the district feels like it should be spent on the elements that it can spend it on.
Just to let you know also, the generation of these two tables, we generated the reports on 11/19. So granted, there may be some movement by the time you actually have your facility plan meeting. So please keep that in mind. The next table is your 10% major maintenance security balance. As legislation appropriated money in 2017 and 18 of 10% of your major maintenance to go towards security. This shows the actual appropriations for both of the years, the grand total, and what you expense out of that 10% on the specific years. It also shows you the remaining 10% that you can put towards security projects themselves. The next section is our capacity. This is what I referred to earlier in the webinar about WDE is currently taking the October numbers and verifying that information. Once they are able to release it, we will be able to populate not only our capacity for individual districts, but as well as the enrollment projections. I will get these facility plan reports to you and probably have the inserts showing this. Once WDs release that information, we've generated the reports, I'll be in contact with the individual districts to get that information to you as soon as possible. You will be able to see that this is last year's example, and it shows the individual district, what their enrollment capacity was for the year, what their building capacity is, and the percent of capacity.
This one's kind of interesting because, and I'll have fun with Charlie a little bit, he only gets Christmas and New Year's off because all this information really comes at the end of December. And so he gets it from WDE, he then runs it into our enrollment, has to put it into the enrollment projections, and then he also has to transfer all of these enrollment numbers into a spreadsheet in order to, and compare it to building capacity and make this available. So so there's a lot of work between basically Christmas and the first of New Year that has to take place, and I think he does a great job at that. But know that that's information that's important. We want it as accurate as possible, and then we will start with the, and I know that you probably told him this, Amber, but we'll start with the early facility plans that are on the front end of the schedule and work those. So I know sometimes you guys are pretty anxious to get, you know, if you're back in March, just know that Amber's probably not going to get to it right away. It's going to take us another 2, 3, 4 weeks to populate every single facility plan with all this specific data that's specific to your school district. So, so you may ask for her this stuff early, and sometimes she's able to meet that need. And especially the larger districts that have a huge amount of information that they need to integrate into their facility plan. But know that she'll try to prioritize you as much as possible. But first come, first serve, and that's just the way it is. And then another thing I was thinking, Amber, just to remind, go up for a second on security funds. There, for you people who are new, some of this stuff may be Greek. You know, what in the heck is 10% major maintenance security balance? And what is, why, you know, we also have, I guess, 10% major maintenance that can be used for enhancements and so on and so forth. So there, you're going to be asking questions, and Amber does just a fantastic job. As you go through this, don't feel foolish. I mean, we've all been here. This is a learning curve. And to be honest with you, as long as we've been here, this is still a learning curve. But it's really important for you, when you meet one-on-one with her, ask all the questions you want. And she will answer all those questions. And whatever questions she can't answer, I guarantee she passes on to Charlie and me, and we will get back to you before your final meeting so that you understand the context, where these monies are, where they come from, how they can be spent, and we can certainly work with you very exhaustively with regard to any needs. So it may be a little bit overwhelming if you're going through this the first time, but it's kind of interesting because along the way, even school district personnel that have been doing this for a decade or plus, and even us, we learn something along the way as we work with our attorneys to interpret state statute, as we interpret session laws, we interpret appropriations. So these are, no question is foolish. All of them are welcome, and we will help educate you and help you as much as we can along the road.
Very good. The only thing I'd add on the capacity and on the WD information is typically we get the information, like Troy says, around Christmas, and usually what ends up happening is we make a mad dash to make sure everything gets populated. One big change this year in the capacity reports for the statewide capacity report will be, per our new rules, that will identify high capacity, medium, and low capacity needs. The change on that used to be called high priority, medium, and low priorities. Just more of a change in terms, but the identification of those capacity needs will be highlighted a little differently this year.
And we're probably adding way more than we should, but I think these are important discussions. Go down for a second on that one right there. In our new rules and regs, I thank you superintendents, business managers, facility managers, everybody at the school district just received a notification, I think yesterday, Amber,
yes,
of the approved rules and regs through the governor's office. We do encourage you to read those rules and regs. And of course, we're reading them too. We of course were part of making those rules and regs, and now we are required to put them into practice. But in one of those areas, it talks about prioritizing, you know, these priorities with regard to condition, priorities with regard to capacity, and kind of a prioritized list with regard to educational suitability. And so one of the things we'll be doing in the future is, because of the new rules and regs and the requirements of state statute with regard to educational suitability, is that we will have, basically, we will identify and still identify, you know, the highest condition needs in the state through what they call the FCI list, the Facility Condition Index list, that shows the highest needs with regard to deferred maintenance. The building that has the highest deferred maintenance is the highest on the list. So we'll have all these individual lists, but also the rules and regs talk about a composite score that actually combines 50% of the weight for a building will be based on condition, 35% capacity, and 15% educational suitability, and it will result in a composite score with regard to those weights. And so there is going to be a new list out there, a priority list that is separate from the individual lists, not totally independent, but separate from and unique from the individual lists of condition, capacity, and educational suitability. And that's going to have to work through the legislative process, and we'll see what happens in this legislative session coming up if there's going to be any clarity in that. But right now, just to let you know that we still value these lists of capacity, condition, and educational suitability, but to know that there's this composite scoring and ranking and prioritization statewide that's going to be combining all three of them through a weighted criteria. So know that this is a new frontier for us, but when you're looking at this, don't worry about that. I mean, that'll come, and we'll have it together in May, June, because that has to be presented to commission and reviewed and approved and discussed, and you'll have input as well. It'll be in public meetings, and eventually it'll go to the select committee and so on. So you guys just continue to look at your capacity, your condition, and of course the educational suitability needs, and together we'll get there as we move through the process.
Just another note on enrollments. We have inserted, and we will insert the graphic here in your actual facility plan. However, the actual enrollment document will be uploaded in your AIM facility plan once we are able to get that information populated into those spreadsheets.
So by their pre-meeting, or prior to the pre-meeting, we hope, except for those between now and the end of December.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
The next section we have here is for charter schools. Right now, currently, we have 3 districts that have charter schools, and this is specific to assist them. For those of you that do not have a charter school, just document and move on. Or if there's a thought in your community, that's a great opportunity for us to start bringing up that information and going down that path.
So Amber told me I need to be more involved since yesterday's meeting. So I'm going to talk a little bit on notes. But on notes, you do not have to put district notes. If there's nothing to say, the data speaks for itself, right? You don't have to say no notes or anything. Just leave it blank. The notes are for you. If you have something to say, add, give clarification, do it. If it's just check the box and move on, then move on. But don't feel like you have to put notes in every single district note section. Just put what is relevant and leave it blank if there's nothing really to say.
So moving on into condition. Here we have the graphic with the condition, and we talk about the FCI scores. With that, we showed a statewide list of the educational buildings as well as the support buildings through 0.32. So it isn't the entire list, but the very top of the list to view. Once you look at this, you go into your actual district's buildings on educational and support buildings are listed. If there's any comments in this section that you need or want to make, you can go ahead there. The next section we get into is major maintenance. And with major maintenance, we will have one thing that I need you to do is go into your AIM, and you will have a document that will be a spreadsheet of work orders that are in the system currently. We've downloaded any open or work in progress work orders that you have for your district. In this section, what we're doing is updating the information. You will have a drop down to fill in to the right hand side to tell us if we can cancel the report or cancel the work order because you no longer need it. Example is a shed that blew down and now you don't have to re-roof it. It could be canceled. The only thing is you cannot cancel it if there's any funds that have been against that work order. When you want to close a work order is only if all the work has been done and all the payments have been made through the system and you closed it out in the 680 back in June of 2018. Now, if you were going down to this next one and you know you cannot maintain that it is open, it needs to be WIP. On each one of these, we'll want to make sure that we leave a status and the updated status that we have. So once you fill this out, you will want to email it to me as soon as possible for any updates, and then we will be able to allow to get it updated in the AIM system. Now, granted, you may find some work orders that duplicate each other. Please understand you don't want to cancel one and not the other. You want to maintain, if there is any duplicates, that they have the same status. The reasoning is there's probably two phases. One might be electric, the other will be plumbing, and you want them to maintain the same status going forward from here.
We have a question from Tracy.
Okay.
So do you want me to mute her?
Yeah, go ahead and unmute.
So Tracy, do you have a question?
Yes. My question is about your expenditures column. To me, that should say as of June 30th, 2018. By saying November 19th, that's not accurate.
Yeah, that's correct.
And maybe confusing to people that are going to close out projects.
Very true.
We'll make that adjustment. We will make that. We can make that adjustment.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
We'll
you.
follow up on that. Please understand that we've populated a lot of reports, so I may have some discrepancies there, but I do appreciate that correction. With that, the reason we did have that date was the document and information on the expenses was ran in 11/19. That's why it was said that. So with information on that, once you get that report finished and you have all the statuses, you'll send it to me so that we can have it updated in AIM. I've already cut and pasted out of AIM the list of WIP as well as open work orders. With that, if you can update what you're going to do within the next year to the best of your ability and have those work orders submitted to your PMs, once we have the old information updated and the new information submitted, I will be able to rerun this report and submit it into your facility plan at final review. Okay. Seeing there's no other hands or questions at this portion, I'm going to go into, we've submitted here a balance of your 680 that was taken in June. It shows just your payment for the June 2018. It shows your actual ending balances, expenses, your 10% enhancement if you have had any 8% balance remaining, and as well as 10% security balances. The next section, we break down your actual capacity and expenditures. With your major maintenance capacity, it shows the actual categories here with the amount for your district. The next table you will see, we break it down by building, by major maintenance category, as well as expense for any other discussion that needs to be talked about.
So Amber, that's just based on last
On-
June 30th closing of the 680. Okay.
Yes.
So just last year's.
So the next section we show here is your low condition FCA scores. We have taken what you submitted last year. We're not going to start from scratch. This is the condition scores that we've had in the system. This report is also uploaded in your AIM for us to pull down. Once you pull the document itself down, you will see the comments that you were able to make last year with if it was completed. To update, say this one was supposed to be completed in a year, and maybe you have actually had a work order that you could submit the work order number now, and that you have completed this project. So once you've went through here and you went back and updated your document or the information on all these components and component scores, then you can send this document to myself or upload it and email me that it is complete, and we will be able to submit this back into the facility plan at the final review as well.
Can I say something about that
Yes.
table? So again, we just want everybody to take seriously what you put on these. So district notes, you don't have a lot of space to type district notes, so you want to be very specific. on that. I don't think we have a drop-down menu on that column, right?
No,
any of
not
those?
on that
Okay.
one.
So that's your opportunity. Just remember that if ever a legislator or someone else asks for this, that this is a permanent record, and so what you write in district notes is really important. So again, you know, for instance, you may have a 2, and it may be stair coverings or something in a bus barn. So don't type district notes. Don't care because it's insignificant. You know, be political. Type something like not used by public. And so, you know, maybe you put it out on those drop-down statuses on that one. Maybe it's to complete in 5+ years or as needed. A lot of people repair, replace as needed. But on those district notes, just make it so that it's professional, and whoever looks at that knows that you care about it. But to be honest with you, it's not a priority because of this situation. But be political when you do that.
One thing I would like to point out, like Troy said, there is repair and replace as needed or routine maintenance. Say it is a component that is addressing lighting and you're just going to replace lighting as it breaks or needs to. That would be your 2 sections. Or you're doing a future component project that you don't have a work order tied to it at this time, but that's how you're going to address it. Please also know that in the past we've always asked for 1s and 2s to at least have some kind of documentation of what your plan is. But going forward, you can always still open it up to your 3s, 4s, and 5s if necessary in this document, if you would like to pursue that. Going back into the facility plan again, once that is completed with this year's updated information, not going from scratch, we have the information from the House year, we forwarded and brought it forward for you that we can address it. We will cut and paste that new updated information into the facility plan. The next section we just discussed about the condition assessments that we are required every 4 years to assess the buildings that are out in the districts. The last full assessment was done in 2016. This is the proposed schedule for 2020 that we are looking at in terms of assessing buildings to kind of give you an idea of when to expect assessors and training to go through that. Within the next section is called component projects. With component projects, we were able to do, and things were submitted in September, the end of September, any projects from the districts. The committee was able to gather in November, and they were able to assess the components and rank them in the following graphic you see here. There was 31 projects listed. It is pending commission consideration as well as following up with legislation with funding that will be provided in this next following year.
So yeah, this is a very thorough process. It's done every biennial request, so not on off years during the supplemental budget. And we did have, for those that don't know this process, we requested 12 district representatives from 4 regions, 3 from each. We got a little bit different mixture of that, but they did a great job of prioritizing and scoring them. So know that the next time we'll be going through this process. So this one here is going through facility planning, and in the past we haven't really had this list yet. But now you do have it on the front end of facility planning. In the past we've kind of had it at the back end, and you really didn't know where your district was with regard to at least how the committee ranked it. But again, as Amber said, it still has to run through the commission. We'll run through the commission probably in February for their consideration of approval. And then, of course, in about May or June, the commission will have to make a decision of how far down this list on the cumulative column, how far down this list will they go to request monies for X number of projects. So you just start at the top and go down, and whatever the legislature approves, they're going to approve project specific, but it's only going to go down several, so many lines. And so you may be on the list, and even though you're on the list and prioritize at whatever number, it's got a combination of commission approval of the list to begin with, and then certainly where does the legislature go and how far down, how much money do they want to do toward component projects. But this is a great process, and I think it's really been refined well, and is a valid process and a great need in order to supplement the limited funds that you have in major maintenance. So we can, and Amber knows a lot about this as well, but in the process, if you have any specific questions about this process or what component projects are and needs, just talk with her, and we'll certainly help you get up to date.
So the next section we will talk about is the 2018 legislative session. With that, currently we are maintaining a list or gathering a list at this time of bills that we will be tracking within our department that will address things for the facilities of districts. Once that list is compiled and we're starting to follow legislation, we will have a report that we will insert probably during pre-meetings or final reviews and update any information during the actual facility plan for discussions at that time.
We have had in the past, some school district personnel track this stuff really carefully themselves. And so, we're going to present information, but if you already know that information stuff, it can be a very short conversation. If you don't track all the legislative stuff going through, we'll be thorough, but we won't spend a lot of time on this stuff, but those things that are relevant to you that can impact your facilities from a financial point of view, those are the ones that we'll certainly talk about, and we can spend as little or as much time on this as you'll find valuable. But we'll also preload this as we move through so that you'll have some valuable information in written form as well, so that it can be there for reference.
The biennium budget request is an opportunity to also discuss any other recommendations or requests of money that need to be presented to commission, and then for funding later in legislation.
This is kind of a tricky one. I've had school districts in the past say, well, I've asked for something 3 years in a row and you still haven't put it in a budget. No, from our end, it's an objective process. We go through data, we go through an equitable prioritization process to ask for requests. That doesn't mean that legislators or committees or the legislature as a whole can't insert projects, take them out, rearrange them, do what they want. But we have a fairly objective process that we follow that's very transparent. And so don't be afraid to ask, but also understand that it's that those asks are I guess, impacted by rules and regs, policy, state statute, and then legislative committee actions and so on. And it's just a process that evolves over time, but we want you to ask for things. We want you to express your needs, and if you don't ask, then it's we want to make sure you have a voice, whatever your needs are, but have the context in which to voice your needs, so that you know the realism or the guidelines in which we try to follow in order to make requests eventually to the legislature and through the governor's office.
The very last thing that we've always wrapped it up with is unique issues, ideas, and concerns. This enables us, if there has not been an opportunity to bring the discussion up in a previous section, this will be an area that you will be able to bring that information to everybody's attention. With that, if it's something that you still want to reiterate from a previous area, please go ahead in this section. Once we've completed the notes from the actual facility plan that day, we'll finish up our notes, and then we will be able to send out the document itself in DocuSign, electronic signature, through email This has been a very good thing for all of us so that we don't have to send it out an email and then have you print it off, scan it, and send it back. The DocuSign has been very easy for us to use, not only in this, but as well as in leases. You're able to send the lease forms back to me in Word document. I'm able to check it and download information into a spreadsheet in an easier form than doing a PDF. And we're also able to send it out to everybody, and everybody can get a digital copy at that moment with DocuSign. So please know that we'll utilize those tools in our future. And at this moment, if there's any questions, please raise your hand so that I am able to address you and turn your mic on.
So one thing I'd like to say with regard to superintendent signature, superintendents, we ask you and really encourage you to be a part of this process. A lot of superintendents will they may have a point person on working with Amber and getting this facility plan ready. It's nice for maybe that point person to work with you, to coordinate with you, to run it by you before finalizing it for the final meeting. So that may be a process, but if you're some superintendents do it themselves, or they're part of a team that does it along the way. And if you're part of that process along the way, you know what you're putting your signature to. Your signature there, superintendents, is not, not something that says I agree with everything in here. So as you review this and you review our notes after our final meeting, you may have some questions or comments or concerns or additions or whatever, and you're welcome to take it back and redo or refine your district notes. You're able to, if there's one concern you have in here, this is a great place so that as you put this, we do seek superintendent's signature, and the reason is because I think our commission really is, they want you to be involved, they want you to be informed, they want you to be empowered with information that can have an effect on your physical environment for your students and staff. So, but don't feel like, golly, I don't agree with something that was said, but I'm reluctantly, or if I put my signature, it nails me and it confines me to, whatever, the state said or something like that. Let's have that discussion back and forth. We can certainly modify notes. We can, and of course, we'll work with you and make sure that everything's clear and you feel comfortable with your signature. You can also put something down in district notes on ideas, concerns, say, I really appreciate this process. I agree with everything, but my concern is such and such. So use this portion. That's why we put it there, and it just gives you very adequate voice to express whatever your needs are, concerns, ideas. And every once in a while, not every once in a while, Amber gets praised like crazy in this section usually, and the rest of us get no credit whatsoever. But she, if you have a great facilities manager or a project manager at the state, or you appreciate something the state's doing, say it as well. And not trying to toot our own horn, but at the same time, we sure appreciate you guys and what you do and the sacrifices you make to do your jobs. And if you see an employee here that's doing an outstanding job, and you feel welcome to say that with the facility plan.
All right. Thank you guys for attending today. We didn't have any other questions that I see at this time, and I appreciate those of you that have participated in today, and look forward to working with you in the pre-meetings and final reviews to provide the information that we need for our facility plans for this year of 2019. Thank you again, and talk to you soon.